You're unstoppable. What makes somebody unstoppable? Today, we're going to be talking to one of our authors in our book called Unstoppable Female Entrepreneurs Living Fearlessly. I'm so excited to introduce you to one of our authors, Kathi Sohn. We'll be talking to her in just a second. Why should we be unstoppable? Actually, kind of is the question that comes to my mind is, sometimes there are things that we just want to stop on, but also there are other times that we know that we just need to keep going. Like there's like a force behind us that's pushing us to keep doing what we're doing. Well, we're going to bring to the stage right now, Kathi Sohn. She's one of our authors in the book, Unstoppable. Kathi, it's so good to see you today. How's everything going?
Good to see you again, Linda, too. Everything's going really great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Before we get really into it, I want to know, what was it? You've been in several of our other books, but what was it about this particular book, Unstoppable, that made you decide to join us?
I have felt unstoppable for years. It just really resonated with me. And it was a great opportunity in writing my chapter for this book to then unpack that for myself. Like, why did I feel that way? Because there was really a lot behind that.
Okay, without giving away your chapter, can you share with us what was it what's one of the things that was behind that unstoppableness? Because I know your story, but other people don't know your story. So why don't you share, how you got into what you're doing, because that's where your unstoppableness really, really lies, right?
Yes, absolutely. So it really starts about the time in my life about 4 years ago when I lost my beloved husband, David Sohn. And the work that David had been doing, I had learned very deeply. And I was always behind the scenes, though. You know, he was the master of the work, and I was the one who supported him. So when I think what initially inspired me to a whole new level of just being unstoppable was wanting to honor David by continuing the work. And I got early on through just my connection with him and a sort of a spiritual level, I still feel that he's around me, that he's with me. And the message I received was, do it for you, right? It's like, yes, you know, that's great that you want to honor me and to continue the work, but I really felt like he wanted me to make it my own, to turn it and I think just naturally, because he came out of the 80s, he did the work for about 30 years before in the early days of the internet. And so, in a very practical way, I couldn't do business the way he always did. And so, this all evolved for me to be very, very different.
It's interesting because the work you were doing together, he was doing one aspect and you were doing, like you mentioned, behind the scenes. What was it like to move into the spotlight, so to speak? Because here we are, interviewing you. I mean, you're doing all kinds of amazing things, you're forward facing now. What was that shift like to go from behind the scenes to the forward facing?
Very frightening. uh, I come from I used to say that I still say I'm one of David's poster children. Uh, it's probably important for your listeners to understand really what we're talking about when I talk about the work, and I'll provide that for a moment, and then I'll answer your question, Linda. So the work that I do, is sort of in a nutshell, is help people to discover and then release the core beliefs that they created before they were even 7 years old. These are beliefs about that we create about ourselves, about others, and about life based upon very limited information that we don't even understand. So we're not even logical yet, but we're trying to figure out the world and how to get love. And we're putting things together, and they they don't necessarily make sense, but they become a part of us. And there's a whole science behind it on that cell memory level, how we actually carry the trauma of our earliest life with us, and how we carry these beliefs. And again, I used to say that I'm one of David's poster children, because I discovered many of my own by working with David initially. And one of them was about it was the secret to why I was so nervous to be the center of attention ever since childhood and then into adulthood. So yeah, a lot of kids are shy, but then they outgrow it. But when I became a manager on my job and I needed to speak to my personnel, I felt such turmoil inside. You know, I would pull it off and people would say, "Oh, you didn't even look nervous." But what was going on inside is just, I was, I can't even explain the turmoil, and it was starting to really impact my health. So when I did the work with David, I was able to discover that this was all related to when I was a very premature infant. I had a very turbulent birth. I ended up an orphan, and I was hanging on to life by a thread for quite a while, because I wasn't even in my third trimester before I was born, if you will. And so all of this stemmed from that. And so if you think about, okay, fast forward, I've done that work and I've done a lot of that clearing, and now I'm able to speak to my personnel and more take on speaking roles in one way or another. I mean, just to volunteer, okay, I'll speak on that topic. But then when it became taking on this work and needing to be the face of the work, speak to the media, get in front of camera all the time, there was a lot more layers of the onion to peel back. You know, then it was, I think it was more normal evolution that most people would go through when, like, okay, now I need to kind of step up and do this. But still, it was a lot for me then to, you know, continue to let go of some of that residual angst and continue to heal through it and be able to share this work with others who could have as phenomenal a healing as I did through the power of the body memory process.
And that's fascinating, because as you were talking, thinking about, the childhood and different things, like some different people went through my mind and stuff. But I started thinking about, my own childhood. How did my childhood affect myself? And you mentioned, the internal turmoil. So with this internal turmoil, a lot of times, I mean, how many times have we seen somebody speak or talk about something, and then when they're done, they say, I was so nervous, or getting started, they say, I am so nervous. Like, a lot of times I hear that. And we ourselves, like, we don't see it, but the nervousness is so far inside of them that they feel it, but we don't see or feel it. And so I'm curious, do you have any idea anything about that? Like, why do we internalize that turmoil? Why do we internalize that angst, that anxiety, that fear, or what have you, and other people can't see it? Why is it so strong inside of us and other people can't see it? Do you have any idea? Like, that's just kind of a question that came to mind.
Yeah, I think I've seen people who do actually let it out. I mean, and because I've been with Toastmasters in the past, and I've seen people go stand up and they're literally their knees are shaking, and they're sweating, and they turn bright red. I mean, I've had my own days of doing that. And so I think there's those who, for whatever reason, can't hide that inside. But I think most people have a desire, because we don't want to look like we're incompetent, right? We don't want to look like we're nervous, because I think everybody has this fear of judgment by others. With the work, the body memory process, underlying a lot of issues that people deal with, that fear of that judgment, that whole idea of it and fear of it is a really major issue.
what would you give as like one technique that you use to get through those times? Like whether, it's nervousness about, getting in front of people, speaking or what have you. What is like one tip that you would give to people who are listening right now?
Yeah, I think it's just take the energy off of yourself. I think when I started realizing that I have a message to put out there, then it took the shift. Again, my nervousness was about being the center of attention because I was in an incubator and being critically watched, and people didn't think I was going to make it. And that's what I picked up on, was that people thought I was literally going to die. And I translated that as, oh, I'm going to die on stage, right? I'm going to forget what I wanted to say, or, whatever, just not do well. And then I realized that, okay, but it's not about me. I mean, really, especially with this work, I'm very motivated and inspired by it. And it's not about me. It's about my audience. It's about the message. If I just focus on that, like my audience out there and the message that I'm bringing and wanting to connect with people, then I do it, it's over, and I never had one thought about myself. And in the days past, it was all about, oh, how do I look? Oh my gosh, they're looking at me, and a lot of that was subconscious. A lot of it was subconscious, but that was what was going on. Was I was still that little infant who was being peered at and judged in that little incubator.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, one of my favorite sayings of Les Brown is he says, "Don't let what you want to say get in the way of what the audience needs to hear." And that right there is taking the focus off of us and putting the focus on them and the mission that we're here. Each of us has a mission. So we're talking to Kathi Sohn. She's one of the authors in our book, Unstoppable. And where you can get your copy of the book as well as free gifts by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/unstoppable. And so, Kat, let's talk just briefly about your chapter in the book, Unstoppable. The title of your chapter is Mission First, People Always. Why don't you share with us just a snippet about that?
Well, I first heard that expression when I was in the military. I think there was some military leader, I don't even remember who, I believe it was at the level of the very high officer. I believe at the general, he was a general. And that really struck me because certainly I come from, I spent many, many years with our Department of Defense, and I had a very strong sense of mission. And I talk about that in my chapter. And, I guess in reflecting, I might have thought, well, but those days are over, right? I'm not working to protect our country any longer. Now I'm doing something else. But what I realized was I am still on a mission. In fact, I've sort of felt that my whole life. I remember as a child feeling like there's something important for me to do, and it guided me through school and what I chose to do in college and the job that I chose. So, that's all the more, I think even more than when I was working for the Defense Department. Now I have a sense of mission because it's about connecting with people about the very quality of life. I'd love to be able to reach people, to explain to them how we put all of these beliefs into place early, and then we forget, and then we carry them around, and sometimes our whole life, and not even realizing that we have these chains on, that we could release ourselves. So I have that very strong sense of mission now to spread this word, especially with parents, because when parents can empower themselves, then they in turn can empower their children. And the people first aspect of it that's really what it's all about. So, even when, for me personally, to not get so caught up in my own mission that I forget about, my children and my friends as being important in my life as well. And in fact, that's really what I'm doing all of this for, right? Is to create a better world, create a better future for them. And the two don't need to be exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, I think that's why it was so powerful coming from a military leader. And I've worked with the military. I was in the military for 4 years before I was a civilian. That sometimes there's this feeling like you got to choose one or the other, right? No, the mission comes first, and you just kind of have to just do it. But I found when I became a manager, it was important to be a compassionate leader, and that, you know, there's always other people who can do the mission. You go and be with your family. They need you right now, and we'll take care. We'll cover you, right? And I think that way of being in the world is very important.
Yeah, I love that, mission first, people, people always. And this actually leads to the title of your book, which is what is it? You made it up, now stop believing it. I remember when I first heard that title, I was like, oh my gosh, so many things that I've made up that I need to stop believing. And I'll share one of them, because you were talking about beliefs, beliefs from childhood. I actually believed, I'm always embarrassed to admit this, but the truth is the truth. This is what I believed. I believed that men who ate salad were, I'm just gonna use the term. This is what my belief was when I was young, is that men who ate salad were gay, which, it's like, that was so ridiculous, right? But that was because my dad would say things like that. That was how my dad would talk. And he never ate salads. So that's what I thought. And when I met my husband at age 25, he was wanting, like, let's go out and let's go eat. And I'm going to get a salad and I'm going to whatever. And I was like, okay, is he gay? Like, I didn't know, because that was the belief I was indoctrinated with when I was a young person. And so I carried that belief around with me. Anyway, we share that embarrassing belief. But yeah, let's talk about this. You made it up, now stop believing it. What is this book about? Why should I go get it? And we'll share with you how you can get a copy of it as well.
Well, Linda, that's I love your example, and a lot of times we will actually remember what we heard, what we learned when we were very young, and that we've somehow adopted those beliefs ourselves. But so many of these beliefs, we don't even remember where it came from. So with the book, I've taken 5 case studies. David had really great notes. He had permission from the clients who he worked with to be able to use their case studies anonymously. And so I took 5 of them for the beginning of the book, which is about how you made it, how you made it up. The second part is how to stop believing it. And then the third part is about conscious living. So in the first part, I use these stories to explain how this shows up in people's lives, how these beliefs show up. And I'll give a quick example. There is someone we called Frank, who didn't realize why he was a couch potato. He really wanted to be more active. And through working and getting back into his past and getting back into those memories, he recalled that his father was very, really disappointed in him and called him lazy one time, said, I'm so disappointed I have such a lazy son, because he used to like to go home and just read after school and get on the couch and read. But his father wanted him to be in sports and wanted him to be more active. And then he forgot. So then he grew up and he's wondering why he has this behavior. So that's, one example I think that people can relate to. And through the different client stories, you learn through the chapters of all the science behind it, right? All that happens of how we create, how the trauma gets lodged in our cells, and how we create these beliefs, and that things like, neurotransmitters associated with emotions during these early life experiences will travel to receptors all over our body. And, there was a scientist called Dr. Candace Pert, who really discovered the mind-body connection, because she discovered this connection between the mind and the body. Neurotransmitters and receptors, and that they carry this information that we associate with the emotional event, and then it stays with us. So David called them childhood vows. So the book is really about explaining how we make up childhood vows. The whole process is in the book, and that's all in the second part. The only thing I couldn't pack into the book are hundreds of these vows that David had created over the years, and that now I use with working with people to help them discover their own vows. Because he was able to correlate where they show up, because the initial information was lodged in our body. It hit at certain places, right? So there's an energy system to our body, and so, for example, communication. These beliefs that have to do with speaking your truth, they'll show up around your neck and shoulders, for example. And people can sort of explore then, if they have those issues going on, then, what could it be that I decided very early in life? And there's the process is explained in the book, so you can kind of triangulate on what your beliefs are. And then if they're not serving you anymore, then there is a way to let them go. And that's explained in the book as well.
Awesome. I think it's a very important piece of material, for people to look at, to see if it can help them through that. You can get a copy of the book at kathysohn.com, and that's KATHISOHN.com. Go get your copy of the book. Also, go get your copy of the book, Unstoppable. You can get a copy of that at actiontakerspublishing.com/unstoppable. Kathi, it's so great talking to you. I love what you're doing. I think it's so important. I ran away when I was 5 years old. I was gone for a week. And what happened during that week was something that was solidified in my own mind. And that was that nobody came to get me because they don't love me and they don't want me around. And that was what I believed about so many people. It wasn't just about my family. And that was, that, like you mentioned, that belief that I carried around. And then now, at age 51 is when I broke through a fear every single day for a year. And that was one of the things that helped me to kind of unpack that without knowing what I was doing. Like, I had no idea. I was just breaking through fears. But that's a lot of what was happening, is that it was chipping away at those old beliefs and was being replaced with new beliefs that people do love me. They do want me around. They do actually like me, and I am a smart person. Like, there's all these different things that were replaced through that. And that was the process that I went through. That wasn't even a process that I knew I was going through, so it's interesting how we can work on ourselves. Sometimes we do it on accident, which is what I did. And sometimes we get help from people like Kathi. So if you're looking to, get some of these things figured out, please reach out to her. Go to kathysohn.com, reach out to her, see how she can help you to get through that process. There's faster ways when you work with people who know what they're doing, or you can flail around like me and try to figure it out on your own, which I don't recommend. So before we go, I just want to ask you one last question, and then also let people know that you can follow us, like us, follow us. We're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Facebook, all of them at Action Takers Publishing. So please go follow us on all of those socials. So Kat, what is one message that you would like the readers to take away from reading our book, The Unstoppable Book? What's one message that you would like for them to take away?
Oh, just know that you, the reader, too, are unstoppable. It isn't just, okay, I'm reading about these, these strong women out there. Each one of us has the capability to be unstoppable in our own lives. It's just when things like we've been talking about, which we call also your life script, that can lead you either to a repeat in crisis in your life or to staying in your comfort zone, that when you're able to get out of those cycles and truly pursue your dream. And a lot of times people have dreams that are not only about, I want to live in a big, wonderful house and be able to travel. But many, many, many people, I would say the majority of people who are on the earth right now have a dream that would be beneficial to everyone else. Right. And so you really can have it all, right? You can have a great life for yourself, and you can have a mission. You can be unstoppable in making this world a better place.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, remember, your dreams are not too big. They're not too big for you. You do deserve them. And so definitely, again, reach out to kathysohn.com. Get your copy of the book, actiontakerspublishing.com/unstoppable. Kat, thanks so much for being in our live and being part of what we're doing here over here at Action Takers Publishing and getting the messages out there. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Debbie Allen, and I just had an amazing opportunity working with Linda. She really knows publishing, and this is a big thing coming from me because I've written now 10 books. She helped me with my 10th book. I've been working with major publishers and had all kinds of amazing opportunities, but I wanted to get this book done fast, and I wanted to work with somebody that could publish it for me, do a hybrid publishing. And I just thought, okay, I'll take a chance on Linda, let's get it done. And she walked me through this process so easily. It was such a joy. And here is the big deal. I have been a professional expert in marketing and books for over 20 years, and I learned a lot from Linda. She gave me some great marketing ideas I never even thought of. My book was timely. In fact, it was a month early, and we even made Amazon bestseller before our launch. I can't tell you that she's just an amazing person to work with. She follows up. She gives you more than you expect you're going to get, and you will get a really high quality product, and you'll have a really great time working with Linda. She's a true professional.